Hey guys, and welcome back to the SSF journey. Thank you guys so much for 100 subs. It really does mean the world. Yeah, blown away with all of the support, all of the love, all the comments, all the, constant support. I do see a couple people returning and, leaving comments on every video and asking questions and challenging me, and it really means so much. So yeah, thank you to you guys. I really appreciate it all so much. In terms of up and coming plans, I'm probably going to try and go for a video every second day, or maybe do Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays as uploads. And then that kind of allows some time in between, if I miss a day because of work, to catch up and then upload a video. The content doesn't really get interrupted. Rather than trying to do a video every day, it does get pretty stressful when, you've had a whole day of work and then you got to come home, try and record something, try and edit it and get it uploaded. Yeah, it's just probably not the best way of doing things, and I really want to make sure that the quality of these videos improves and it doesn't just get worse or feel rushed or quick or whatever. And then yeah, maybe on the weekends, like a Saturday and a Sunday, maybe try and do short little live streams or something along those lines, and try and have that engagement with you guys. That would be really fun. Obviously we'll see what the future brings, and yeah. So just quickly going to be starting off in PoB to discuss the future plans for the build and the reason why I keep on mentioning things like suppression and being able to save a whole bunch of points once we finish our Mastermind, and kind of going over some other things like how I edit my filters and quick little changes that I make every now and then. Starting off in PoB, this is obviously the tree that we are currently working towards, which has Eldritch Battery. It's a lot of extra points to get this, but without that we wouldn't have enough mana to actually use our SRS. This isn't our tree at the moment. Going to be respecing to get into more endurance charges. Actually, you click those two, but that makes it level 99, so yeah, makes it a little bit higher level. But hopefully we can drop all these nodes up here before we get to that point. Really grabbing as much block as possible early on. There was a question about glancing blows, and glancing blows is good if you have a way of actually recovering the damage that you take. So there is a mod that you can get on Shaper Shields, which is percentage of life gained when you block damage. We don't have that at the moment, so there's no point in clicking this, just because if you see our effective hit pool, it's 22,000. I haven't messed around with the calculations and stuff to actually get it accurate, but just as an example, we click that and we lose pretty much half of it, and that's because we'd be taking 65% of the damage. So if we have a way to recover life on block, that's a really good node to click, but for the time being, it's not worth clicking at all. Once we get our block up to 75, which isn't too difficult, if you have any sort of increased block chance, you'll be block capped quite comfortably. And then spell block, we just need to try and craft that onto a piece of gear, and then we'll be spell block capped there too. Or we could try and anoint something, trying to farm our Masterminds and trying to get Devouring Diadem, which is this unique helmet which can only drop from Mastermind, which allows us to have Eldritch Battery basically for free, and then it gives us a whole bunch of energy shield, which is enough to cover off on our mana cost for SRS. Gives us a lot of energy shield, and then obviously the sockets and gems have 25% increased reservation efficiency. Basically means that we'd actually be able to run an extra aura. Haven't played around too much as to what that aura would be yet. Just going to wait and see how the build goes and whether that needs to be a damage aura or if it can just be something extra defensive for us. And then Feasting Flesh is a really nice one. Basically consumes a whole bunch of corpses and gives us a huge amount of regen, which is very nice. So that's basically the tree we're working towards at the moment, hoping to get a Devouring Diadem, and then we drop all of these nodes up here, which is, yeah, 16 points to be exact, which is absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, once we gain all of those, we can obviously have 16 points to do whatever we want. Then we'd want to put in a 12 passive minion cluster jewel, which will give us a huge bunch of damage, and then extra 2 jewel sockets, which we can obviously put our Blessed Rebirth and whatever else. Doesn't really matter in the medium. And then we got another jewel socket here just for another Ghastly Argel. Yeah, still spec'd into endurance charges. Actually, you click those ones again. Don't know why those are unclicked. Then we should be pretty good. Obviously, it is a level 98 tree, but our spell block and normal block chance is really good. Just like I said, need a better shield, and then we'll be a-okay. With this cluster jewel, it's going to give us quite a bit more damage, and that will obviously be really good for the build itself. Yeah, damage isn't too bad. It says about 1 million, but haven't played around with configs and added in any extra nonsense to try and make the build look better than what it is. Just going very bare bones in terms of PoB. In terms of going for suppression, this was kind of an idea that I had to think of like a really late game, maybe more of a trade setting kind of thing. Yeah, it'll be way too difficult to try and get this kind of gear in SSF, but the tree would look something like this. Haven't done too much on this because I'm just not even going to attempt it after looking at this. This seems to be the best way to go. Scale up your block, try and get block capped, and then it allows us to get a lot more damage on the tree and a lot more freedom to kind of play around with skill points, because obviously it doesn't have to be a 12 passive, it could be an 8 passive, which gives us a nice little chunk of damage and a bunch of extra jewel sockets, and then would allow us to spec into things like more life. At the moment, liking the way that this tree looks, really can't wait to drop a devouring diadem. We can be free of a 16-point chokehold. Just going to hop over into Google just to go over how I do my filters. So I go onto Filter Blade and then using the Never Sync Softcore event. In terms of styles, I'm using currently Velvet, and then I have D2 sound pack here added on. Like the sounds of it just sounds different than playing with the bass one for so long. And then what I normally do is kind of just scroll through, and very simple to just see what items are being shown and then kind of hide the ones that you want to hide and show the ones you want to show. Yeah, just go through, see what I want to hide. So if I really need augments early on, I'll click on that and then make sure that they're showing. If you want to get more advanced with it, you can go into the customize option and then you can go through here and kind of select and change and put on and turn off whatever you want to. Neversync has put a lot of effort into this and he's really made it super nice for everybody. Yeah, I like to show all div cards just in case, because we are SSF. Some of the div cards that are hidden are actually not necessarily good. You know, you'd rather have as many cards dropping as possible. Some people might just vendor in it in trade, but you might need an SSF or might want to, you know, hand in for whatever reason. And then I kind of just go through here, hide things as I need to. I like to come into the weapon and armors and then just disable tier 3 early on, because I don't really care too much about the tier 3. You can also just click this body armor on here and you can go through and then hide whatever you want to hide and show whatever you want to show. And if you have rank C disabled, then you just click that and then you can click off whatever you want and then those will be hidden. Yeah, if you want something to be shown, then you go rank A or rank B. And then once we get higher up into the tiers or just our gear starts to get better, then we can hard rank B and just have rank A showing. Same goes for jewelry. Go through every single thing and then kind of choose what you want to show. For me, belts aren't really important because we want a Darkness Enthroned. Rare belts don't really matter that much. Getting a Darkness Enthroned can be quite challenging, as you can only get Abyssal Depths in red tier maps. This is pretty much what I do in terms of changing around my filter. And then just another thing that I like to do, I like to go to PoE Ninja and then kind of just check and see what everyone else is kind of doing when it comes to summon raging spirits, especially on the Paladin, and then kind of just go through and see what they are clicking, what they are utilizing in terms of gear. Most of them are pretty generic, nothing really too fancy about them. But yeah, you can kind of just see what everyone's doing and then it makes life that little bit better. Yeah, so I just wanted to go over this quickly in terms of gems. I had volatility in here. I think volatility is technically more damage when you have lightning as your main damage, just because your lightning rolls are normally, 1 to 40 or something. So the higher that minimum hit will be, turns out to be more beneficial. But if you're just doing what we are doing, which is all elements, then elemental focus will be your best bet in terms of damage. Yeah, so those are going to be the links. Still wondering if Unleash is worth it late game, if it's a case of maybe, get rid of Unleash and put in another support that will give us more damage, or if we do get quality on our SRS, that gives us an additional chance to summon a minion, so maybe we don't need Unleash, but that's a whole nother can of worms and we will handle that once we get there. Just wanted to go over those things quickly. Hopefully this helps. Unfortunately, the video isn't going to be all too long today, just because don't have much time to play during the week. I am very sorry about that. You guys have absolutely blown my mind. I can't thank you guys enough for all of your support and all of your amazing comments, and it just means the absolute world to me. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope that you enjoyed the episode, and peace.